So good morning. This is SME Unleashed, and this is Raymond Mutura from the Centre for Research on Organizations, Work and Family. And Edwin will be joining us shortly. But today we have a special guest from Kaplan and Stratton, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe she can say something for you to get to know her, and also to greet you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Kiarie. I'm a partner at Kaplan and Stratton, specializing in corporate commercial matters. I also deal with employment and data protection, and I'm pleased to be here this morning.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. So in the program, we are now on episode 15. We are 15 or 16. We've been talking about SMEs for a long time, and the quagmire we try to solve is on what we call MPG, mindset, processes, and governance, as aspects that we think inhibit SMEs from growth. So just looking at these three ideas from a legal structuring perspective, what can you say? Mindset, of course, could be things to do with culture, or just the mindset of the founders. Processes, we know it's good to have standard operating procedures in a business, and of course governance, just trying to make sure that there is an appropriate way of getting accountability, sometimes including independent directors, separating ownership from management, etc. So just looking at those aspects that we've raised in our program from a legal structure, what are your thoughts? What are your comments?
Wow. I think you're right. Those are really fundamental issues that affect SMEs, and I think not just SMEs. Most businesses, you would see some of those challenges in some of the larger businesses as well, if they haven't evolved properly. But of course, it's probably more prevalent in the SME sector. Now, when you look at mindset from a legal perspective and also from a cultural perspective, I think the challenge with most Kenyans, if I would put it that way, for starters, is a know-it-all attitude, where someone goes into business and they're the accountant, they're the secretary, they're everything, and it becomes very difficult to advise people who have that mindset, because there's a lot of I would say ignorance of the law and of many other things. So you would find someone, for example, getting into a business, but they are not aware of the regulatory space that they're in. So they're not aware of the licenses that are required. They're not aware of the regulations that apply to the sector that they're in. So for instance, you'd find someone starting a bakery, not aware that there are laws regarding standards, that there are laws regarding the people who are actually baking, that there are actually laws relating to how the bakery should be structured, occupational OSHA requirements. But they're running it, and most of the time it's the aspect, who will find out? I mean, how will the regulator get to me? I think the first person that catches up with them is usually the taxman. But this can be resolved. We are, I think, probably very focused on a curative mindset rather than a preventative one. So you'll deal with the problem when it comes, rather than being proactive from the onset. Okay, I'm getting into this business. What do I need to do? How do I prevent issues, down the line? So I think going into business with a very, for lack of a better word, a cocky attitude.
Okay. But maybe the reason is they say innovation precedes policy. Maybe I'm an entrepreneur. I have seen an opportunity. I have seen in Mulolongo there's no bread, and let me just
get on
with it. I'm here to make money. So, entrepreneurs would always sometimes think, they think opportunity. They don't think many things. Is there a challenge with us? Is it a peculiar problem with Kenyans?
I think it's an issue of balance, because I think now there are two extremes. I like the entrepreneurial mindset. You'll deal with the problems. You'll deal with issues as you go along. But I think the issue is really to be proactive. Jump into that space. But as you're doing the business, try and catch up with the processes as quickly as you can.
Okay.
As opposed to probably my own personal challenge would be analysis paralysis. Before I get on with it, I have to make sure that all my ducks are lined up in a row. And many times you'll find opportunities are, passing you by. So I think it's really an issue of balancing. But I admire the entrepreneurial mind.
Or maybe even it is, many, we were discussing with Robert the other day that Kenya is an innovator of the word informality. Yeah. And and when I was checking last week, I realized that this is a term that I think it was started by what you call the Degwa report to the issue of informality. So, and maybe the way we do entrepreneurship here is side hustle. It's, something on the side, something informal. Maybe this is the aspect we go with, that then we don't think about, formalizing, checking these things you've said about the bakery. Is there a problem with us as Kenyans with that? and that's why we don't want to go into any formality of some sort.
You're making us look so bad, Raymond.
No, I'm just asking. Maybe that is the issue. Maybe that is the issue, that we are just too informal.
About everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's also part of our culture, sort of, where we really didn't have very serious. A lot of the things are informal. So you can, for example, compare it with some of the Western cultures. A lot of our interaction was really relational, rather than, the straitjacket. Sort of, I don't want to say European. But we are laissez-faire.
Yeah, but maybe it started that way. Maybe even if you go to the Western, maybe it started that way. But
definitely,
what is beginning to be very clear is that the SME has a significant contribution to the economy. Yeah, because we look at 30 to 40% on GDPs on SMEs. That's what they say. So maybe then what needs to change is that we probably need to think that SME is another way to do business, is another way to survive, and therefore we need to think about the legal structures. I guess I don't know, because we are beginning to talk about growth. So if we're talking about growth, what should we think about from a legal perspective? From a legal structuring perspective.
Maybe to take you back a bit. I think everybody starts from that level, at the SME level, and then you grow. I think the challenge is now not being able to grow with your business. Everybody sort of starts out as an SME, let me see if this works, and then you realize, okay, actually it's working. So when you now move into a medium-sized business, rather than move with your mindset, you still have the SME mindset, but your business has grown past the SME level. Okay. So I think from a legal structuring perspective, even when you are still at that SME level, when you're still, this is a side hustle, I'm just trying to see whether this will work. Probably just do some research. Hope for the best, hope that it will work, and think through what you will need to do if it works, because everyone starts with a dream. So you better work with your dream. So if this works, then what do I need to put in place? At least at the very first instance, probably move from a sole proprietorship to a more formal structure. A company. Companies are quite cheap to register. And
I was going to go to that. Raymond and I know that some of the big businesses we have are still sole proprietors. They don't have CR12s. And their turnover is maybe 500 million a year.
Imagine.
And I think one of the things as mentors, Raymond and I usually try is to start there. We start asking, do you have a CR12?
Actually, before we used to think it is obvious until we started engaging, and you realize, are you even a registered business? Yeah. So anyway, what for me to think not sole but company, what mindset do I need to have so that when I'm looking at my business, and what are the advantages on being a company as opposed to a sole proprietor?
I think first it's risk mitigation. Okay. Because the whole idea of a limited liability company is that then you're creating a separate legal entity, a distinct entity from yourself. Because when you start up a business as a sole proprietorship, your family, your children's toys, everything that you have is entwined in the business. In the event that you were to be sued or you had some liability that you had to pay up, I mean, your clothes will be sold off, everything that you have goes down. But if you create a separate legal entity, you mitigate the risk in the sense that what you lose is just your capital. So this company is a separate legal entity. Your family and your personal property is not affected. But this animal, this company, now has a separate, distinct legal personality that can run independent of you. So if there is ever an issue with the business, it doesn't affect your personal affairs. If Kiarie comes, it only comes for the business, it doesn't come for you. So I think the key thing for me is really
separation.
Yes, the risk.
So
mitigate the risk.
Mitigate the risk and therefore to separate yourself.
Yes.
But then why would there be sole proprietor and why wouldn't I go there in the first place? What is this peculiar thing that makes us not go into a company from the onset?
And I guess I can add to that. One of the things, Sarah, is that some of the companies we know were started in the 90s. They're now 60. And I don't know if back then we had that or the process was much, much more difficult. Because now we have e-citizen and that makes it easier. And since they had the sole proprietorship, or back then you could register a name only.
A business name. But the company structure was there. It's just maybe it was more elite,
Okay. So it could not answer to the side hustle
at that time. Yes.
So it is historical.
Historical, I agree.
There's an element of history there.
True.
Okay.
True.
So then now that history has eventually made us make things easier, for somebody starting a business today, ideally they would think of what? Registering as a company?
Yes. In fact, you can now register it yourself.
You can register
on e-citizen.
Search the name.
Okay. Then. So it is simple. It is straightforward.
Yes.
But is there an option for sole propriety?
I think there still is. Mambogas, everybody who is starting out and probably doesn't want the formality of it, I think would still go the sole proprietorship route. I think a lot of the businesses that are starting up, is there a level that is lower than SME?
No.
Well, there's micro. We call it micro, small, and medium enterprises. So there's micro, and maybe the micro is probably the area where we have a lot of sole proprietorship.
Yes.
Yeah, but even sometimes the micros, they do very decent business. I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend, and he said he has this lady who makes mochas, and she makes 600K a month.
Totally agree. I also know someone, actually a family friend, who started out a business selling githeri to construction workers. And she's a multi-billionaire, owns buildings.
How many years?
How many years later? Less than 20 years later.
Wow.
She's just opened many branches. In fact, I'm not even sure she has moved to a company. I think she's still a sole proprietorship.
So what is the fear? The fear is formality. Formality then has what?
I don't know. I think people just start out as a sole proprietorship. It works. It makes the money. So why change if it's working?
And I guess that's usually the problem.
Yeah. Why change? And you've talked about the issue of risk, risk mitigation. Is it that they don't see it, or
I think there's an element of ignorance. Probably they are not aware. They don't know any better, and that's why I think like the programs that you're running really come in handy, because then you become more aware of what is available out there. Because I think at that point maybe that's all that they know. Okay, so it's an awareness issue. It is just the way historically we always start informal. We start side hustle and so on. So, but I think what you're saying is to mitigate risk. To separate yourself from the business already, even legally structuring your business separated from yourself. Yes.
And I guess we can add to that. So we've touched on that being one issue when SMEs start, which is formalizing. What else is there? What other issues should they be thinking of legally apart from having the CR12? Is there anything else? I think if you're looking forward, I think you look at succession and expansion. So if, for example, you're going to look at getting additional capital, or you being able to sell off your company, which I think many young people now are looking at. You start a business, you have no intention of keeping it in the long run. You're just hoping that you'll get someone who will buy you out. So if you have that mindset, from the beginning, you've got to make sure that your house is in order, so that it's investor ready. If someone was to come and see what you're doing, you could easily sell off
sell off your business or get an investor to put in money. So like we talked about the mindset issue, I think it's just that growth mindset that is probably lacking.
And putting things in order means what, for example?
Putting things in order means having your structure right. So yes, you're a company. Do you file your annual returns? With the company's registry? Do you file your tax returns? Do you notify the company's registry whenever there's a change in your directors, in your shareholding? Then also going to your record keeping, of course, your financials. Are you keeping your accounts? Are they being audited? If you're in a regulated space, do you have the necessary licenses that are required to do your business? You would probably have a website, is your domain name registered? Yeah.
You want in your website. We know so many businesses.
Now there are so many spotters. In fact, I find it's very interesting nowadays when you go and try and search a name, even for a company. You'd come up with the most, in your thinking, innovative name. It's taken. And there are actually people who are sitting on those names and are ready to sell it to you. Yeah.
For us, we see the opposite, which is we have businesses who have never bothered to own a website.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because I think there's a time when there was a craze for websites. Everyone had a website. Yeah. It just has a landing page, no content.
Yeah, because so like now, me and Raymond, part of the task we're giving my students. So I teach 4th years is to just do desktop research for some companies, and they're finding it very difficult to find anything online.
You see, what I think has happened is the social media has replaced the need for internet.
That's what like Instagram.
Yeah, so
and
I don't know whether we should be asking them to look for. Actually, they should be looking at the number of the director and look at whether he has a social media page. Maybe that's what we should be asking them to do.
To do that.
Yeah, because you see in the social media, I can do, what do you call this thing they put? You can advertise yourself.
Yeah.
That is where people are anyway. So maybe it is replacing the need for a website. Because you can put a whole catalog in WhatsApp business.
Exactly. Even for myself, whenever I'm looking for something, my first port of call is Instagram.
Okay. So maybe that is where we need to recalibrate the students.
And by the way, what we're saying is even with the listed companies in our NSE, they don't have websites, which is funny because we always ask NSE themselves, okay.
Listed entities that don't have a website?
Yeah.
Okay, I was not aware of that. Because there's a requirement, you have to publish your financials on your website. There's a lot of information that you have to publish on your website.
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them, but there are some that don't.
That's really.
And so usually, especially, the smaller ones.
Yeah.
When I say small, I mean market cap.
But maybe all those aspects are very complicated for an entrepreneur. When you talk about you have to have a company and all the details of returns and audited accounts and all this. Why would you think people would have a problem with having to do this when you're coming from an entrepreneurial mind?
I think you really just want to concentrate on the business. I've heard people saying those are distractions. Just let me deal with my business. I don't want to think about companies' registry and filings and whatnot, but it's a necessary evil.
It's a necessary
and especially with Kiarie, I think
So inevitably what Kiarie is doing is really pushing people to go formalize. And that is where also the fear is.
Yeah.
That if I get too formal, if I get too known, then the taxman will catch
me.
Yeah. So what can we tell the people who are doing business? Why would they not? What can we tell them?
Basically, he's asking what's the benefits of complying?
Yeah.
I think if you want to grow, you have to comply. If you're intending to remain small, you can afford to
not comply.
Yeah.
It's an issue of growth. And what next after I have created this business? Mm-hmm. So it has to be that I'm going to the mindset of growth. If I'm not ready to grow, maybe I'm still ready to remain the way I am.
Yeah.
But Mr. PhD, what should we do with the people who are thinking, look, let me just remain the way I am, and yet they are making a significant impact? When you look at it, we say, look, you're now contributing 40%. You're now eventually employing 80 to 90%.
Yeah, it's interesting because Sarah may even know better than I. A lot of investors are looking for companies but they cannot find them. So you have the money there, but not the capital. I mean, not the businesses. So again, it comes down to that, which is where do we want to take the business, and having clarity on that.
Absolutely.
I guess for us is to, and why we're having this show is to kind of illuminate and share insights on why such practices are important, so that, you know, once they grow, they can come to Sarah, and Sarah helps them on the
you don't even have to come to me when you're already grown. Come when you're starting.
I come when we are starting.
So that you recalibrate your mindset.
So that you start, And you know, some of these things really, if you want, you don't even have to go to a law firm. There's so many events that are available, you know, National Chamber of Commerce. There are all manner of events or pages that you can follow. You can subscribe for newsletters. I mean, all law firms have, you can subscribe to their newsletters, including and whatnot.
Yours. Okay.
So, and you'll get a good understanding. If you have the mindset of growth, even without legal advice from the very beginning, if you're just to do desktop research, if you just do some Google searches, you'll have a good idea of what direction you should go.
So before we go to a break, I was actually going to ask, that was my next question. What should an entrepreneur do if they cannot afford a lawyer or any legal advice? And I guess that's the response she has given.
Okay, this is SME Unleashed, and this is Raymond Mutura from the Centre for Research and Organizations, Work and Family, and our dear PhD joined us.
That thing of yours is so long. And my name is Dr. Edwin Obonyo from Strathmore Centre for Value Investing.
And we have a guest.
And my name is Sarah from Kaplan and Stratton.
Thank you. We'll be back after a break.
Okay, this is SME Unleashed. Welcome back. This is Dr. Edwin Obonyo from Strathmore Centre for Value Investing.
And this is Raymond Mutura from the Centre for Research and Organizations, Work and Family. It's the same name, lengthwise. And our guest?
And this is Sarah Kiarie from Kaplan and Stratton.
So I guess, Sarah, we are going back a bit, you know, just to get to know a bit about you as our guest. Is when did you start this legal journey, and how did you get yourself to the commercial side?
Okay, my legal journey started in when I joined law school. My LLB to do my bachelor's. My dad is a lawyer, so law for me was bedtime stories. Fun facts, I have 6 siblings, so we are 7, and 3 of us are lawyers, so plus my dad, for 4 of us in the household are lawyers.
Wow.
That had a significant impact in terms of me joining the legal career. It sounded to me like there are diverse options within law, but I just love the fact that it seemed to have to solve all manner of problems. So that's why actually I joined, to be able to solve problems, because I saw my dad solving a lot of problems.
And then you never chose oil and gas, you never chose tech law, you never chose.
Did they exist even then?
At that point, when I was actually doing my dissertation, I wanted to be a medical negligence lawyer. Like my thesis all through was on medical negligence, until at a point I was told, again, it's actually my dad who told me, in Kenya, if you're doing medical negligence, you better also do medicine. The best you can do is be an expert witness. So I had to recalibrate at that point. So when I joined Kaplan and Stratton, you had to rotate between different departments. So you had to move from commercial, litigation, property, and intellectual property.
Okay.
I found commercial very dynamic. I mean, no 2 days were the same. Yes, you'd probably be looking at contracts, but the types of contracts are numerous. So I like the diversity. My challenge with litigation was that at that point, things were not moving. So I was a bit disappointed in having to prepare for a matter that is coming up in court the next day, and then the matter is adjourned for another 3 months, and then I'll have to prepare again. I wanted something that is moving. I wanted to be able to check, done. So for me, I found commercial to be my home. It checked all the boxes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is fantastic. And so you've been there for a while now.
Yeah, I've been in Kaplan for 17 years.
Wow. So even the people who are doing law school now in SLS should
I can't believe it's been 17 years. In fact, I celebrated my bar anniversary last week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 17 years actually goes by pretty fast.
And in your commercial career now, as a commercial lawyer, your career as a commercial lawyer, we are very heavy on data. Nowadays everyone is saying data. What
Data-driven decisions.
Are your 3 major common cases you faced over that duration? When I say common, is that kept on coming up, like you kept on dealing with, or you kept on working on?
Because I do largely M&A, and I co-head the mergers and acquisition department with a colleague called Joseph. So a lot of what we do is really, I would say, growth, in the sense that when you're looking at mergers and acquisitions, it's one company acquiring a stake in another company. So there's a lot of growth that happens out of the mergers and acquisitions, and we've also done a lot of. Of course, there's not been that much activity on the NSE. But a couple of years ago, there was a lot of activity, and we were quite heavily involved in the CMA and the listings on the stock exchange. So that's largely what we've done in terms of my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of
activity, like in the recent, there's been a lot of delistings.
Yeah, a lot more delistings.
We have some. We've done some
I know
delistings.
that I always ask him about this. I still call it the old name. Growth. What is the one for SMEs?
So
Gems.
But
now
it now has a new name.
SME Market.
SME Market.
Yes.
Yeah.
SME Market is based on the new regulations of 2023. I don't know if you're well conversant with them as well.
Yeah,
I'm
and
aware
it's
of-
Gems.
yeah.
I always just wonder.
No, they changed it. Why we
When the
Gems?
SME Market, Gems is the same concept.
It was longer known as Gems than now the current
It's the
SME
same concept.
sector. Yeah.
That concept of SME markets, to follow the boss of Strathmore Centre for Value Investing, isn't there supposed to be activity? When you look at the market, when you listen, are people interested in merging different SMEs? Are people interested in investing in them so that then we can grow that market? Why do you think that market is not growing? Or
It is growing. She's very busy. Can't you see? She's saying
no,
that.
she said the listing one is not growing.
Okay.
Yeah, so what
Especially on the main segment, yeah.
yeah, so we're trying to ask then maybe the SME one should grow because there are so many SMEs anyway.
Yeah,
So-
but many people go to the NSC to look for capital. That's really the point. I think there's now alternative ways of getting that capital.
Okay, so there's
And we are seeing a lot of
alternative
PE
ways.
activity, private equity funds that are willing to put in money. So you don't have to go through the expensive listing process. You can get the money that you need from PE funds.
Okay,
That's
so
the biggest thing why they will tell you not to, right? Why they will say they want to go the PE and not the NSE.
Yeah.
However, the SME market reduced the regulation. They had to go back to the drawing board because of what they were told, which was Gems was too punitive in a way. And I said punitive in quotes. So how can you make it easier? And so they went back. And that's why they came back with the SME market.
with this.
Now, the problem is, it's a new regulation, 2023. No one knows it.
I've also actually not interacted much with it. I haven't seen anyone who has.
Yeah. No, it's no one knows it. No one, I don't know who's supposed to sensitize SMEs on this.
It's us.
Is it us? Is it the lawyers? Is it
It's us.
NSE?
It's us.
I think it starts with the universities.
If you look at it, last week one of in the business research meeting I was attending, one of the questions they asked me is, what are the most interesting policy reforms in Kenya? And the one that really caught my eye is the whole idea of just having the Ministry of Cooperatives and SMEs, and you have a very clear State Department of SMEs and State Department of cooperatives. And if you look at our country, other than the corporate world, the commercial world, where the other part of growth has come from is, of course, from our dear cash crops and agriculture in general. So there you have cooperatives. But largely, which we've always ignored, is this informal sector called the SME sector.
Yeah.
So if indeed by 2016 we were saying 33%, I'm sure it has grown significantly. I'm not sure because there's no data telling us this. But I think somehow we need to rejig our minds about this SME world, in my opinion. And I think that's what I was saying is a critical policy issue. I don't know that we've ever had a ministry of SMEs before. Have we? In our history?
I don't know. I'll have to check. I also have no idea.
Have we ever had the focus on SMEs? I don't think so.
And
so maybe when you're looking at mergers and acquisitions or looking at, okay, fine, I was with a PE fund guy the other day and he says he's tired of the money coming from abroad and he wants to deal with local money. And I was thinking one of the ways of local money is a listing part, but I don't know how it will work. I don't know whether you have any ideas on how we can rejig this so-called silent SME listing.
I think apart from the listing, I think the main challenge that SMEs are facing is over-regulation and tax unpredictable tax policy. Because a lot of the SMEs structure their business in a certain way to take advantage of certain tax incentives. But then that changes every other year. 1 year, if you're moving business as a going concern, VAT is applicable. The next year, it's not applicable. 1 year, certain transactions are stamp duty exempt. The next year, they are not exempt.
That it's only 1 year.
Yeah. So our tax policy is wanting. And not just for the SMEs, but even for the large corporates, many of them are also moving out of the country because of the unpredictable tax policy. And then I think, we also have to look at the licensing of SMEs. I think when we're even having the session with the restaurant owners, a lot of them are saying the number of licenses you're required to have is enormous. So I think we need to find a way of simplifying.
Yeah, and it still challenges the idea of why should I be formal? Because that's precisely the burden it comes with. Yeah, that when I go formal, there are all these licenses. When I go formal, the tax money is there, and so we somehow need to get another solution. I don't know what it is.
I mean, you're still doing business in Kenya. So,
yeah,
I mean,
but you see, what I do is then I just avoid complicating my business. And how do I do that? I remain informal.
I think maybe we probably need to categorize the incentives that are available. So, for instance, for the first 5 years, you don't need to get this whole host of licenses. Just get one until you grow up to a certain level. Then you can probably be able to get all these multiple licenses. I think, is it OSHA, the Occupational Health and Safety license? For the first 1 year, or you're not required to register, or until you have a certain number of employees, or until you have a certain level of turnover. I think if we probably give people that headroom to grow, then now you can come in heavy with the regulation. That will give people some room to grow.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we still have another process that we still haven't exhausted or matured, which is a process of national versus county. So, of course, that's why we have all manner of licenses. So you have national related laws that make you have to be aligned this way. Then you have, actually, I was talking to a petrol station owner the other day, and that was one of the complaints. Now we have this, we have this, we have this, now we have this. There are just too many. Some are county related, some are national related. Yeah. So it's a big issue.
Yeah.
Mr. Edwin, I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, it's all this. It's the citizens, to be honest. Associations might be good to help lobby.
And that was one of my take home for what as business schools should we do? We encourage SMEs to eventually set up associations.
But I want to go back to what Sarah said. So she said predominantly her work is M&A and listing. Is that what you've been doing the last 17 years? I mean, or you grew up...
And other things.
Yeah.
Because I also do employment and I also do data protection now that we have a robust Data Protection Act. Yeah.
Robust. That's good to hear. So for the M&A, which is, I can assume is most of the work now.
Yes.
Because right now we are having all these people now who want to raise money. From your end, what could be the hiccups that they may stop that deal from going through?
Again, it's not having your house in order in the sense that when you're looking at someone, when you're looking for someone to invest in your business, of course they'll want to understand your business, so they'll go to back to the due diligence stage. So you have to show me that your corporate documentation is in order. You're formally registered, your shareholders are actually what they are, because you find someone registers one share each. You have 3 shareholders with 1 share each. But when you now come to selling, you're attempting to sell 100, 1,000 shares, and they're not existing on your register. Okay. So there's been changes along the way, but those have not been formalized. So is your corporate documentation in order? Are your annual returns filed? How are do you have financials every year? If you're in a regulated business, do you have the licenses? Contracts, I think, that's a really critical aspect. Because most people don't have contracts. So supplier contracts, your operational contracts, depending on the sort of business that you're doing. Do you have contracts? Because that's what I'm really buying. Am I able to secure the same pipeline of work that you've been having once I come in as an investor? Do you have loans? What are the terms of those loans? So the main problem is a lack of documentation, because most of the times the challenges we've faced is when you're trying to do a due diligence and then people are manufacturing the documents. So you send them a list of information that you require, then they start generating them at that point and backdating them.
Wow. And backdating.
Okay. Let's start with the one of the shares, because I think when people register, for some reason they write this 1 share.
Yeah, people love that 1 share each. Yeah.
So what should happen? How am I supposed to eventually write the shares?
There's no problem with having 1 share each. It's perfectly in order.
Yeah.
But of course, then when you pay in your shares, that business is not going to be worth 20 to 200 shillings. Depending on how many shares you have and the value of each share.
Yeah.
But are you properly recording? Because you're putting in money as capital. So it will basically be, yes, your nominal value is 100 shillings per share, but the premium. So it's like the over and above the nominal capital. There's that share premium that you have that now reflects the true value of your business. Is that recorded so that you're able to appreciate what the true value of your business is? But I think the main challenge is not keeping up. You start to, most of the times, husband and wife, sister and brother, 2 friends.
4
then
shares.
Down the line,
so far 4 shares. At 100 bob, or how do they put it?
100 bob. That's the most common share value. But then you find that eventually there are more people who have put in money in this business, but that arrangement has not been formalized. People have given loans to the business. Even you there are individuals who put in money. It's still a shareholder loan. You're expecting that the money will be paid back to you at some point, but there's no documentation to that effect.
So we, the 4 who started, when I keep putting money, am I supposed to update this share?
Yes.
So what should I do? What is the process? Because maybe people don't know this.
And that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So just your example, 2 brothers, 10 shares each.
Mom, dad, brother, sister, were 4 shares. That's a company she created for us.
Yeah.
So those 4 shareholders at 100 bob each.
Yeah.
So we start today selling, let's say, water.
Yeah.
So what happens? Should I update that shareholding as we grow?
As long as you remain the 4 of you, it's fine. You can remain as the 4 shareholders, but the value of your shares, the nominal value does not change. So in terms of the company's registry, the 4 of you will remain as shareholders. Okay. Yes, your nominal capital will remain as 400, but the true value will now be reflected in your financials, where now the share premium will be recorded. But what I was referring to is an instance where you started out as 4, but each of you went and brought someone else who has now contributed to this company. But they have nothing to show for it.
And they are not, should they have updated the
Yes, at that point,
agreement?
when you're getting these people who are putting in more money, either they're putting in money as a loan or they're getting a share, their stake. So then you'll have to give them shares in return for the capital that they're putting in.
Yeah, but capital, the way we get it sometimes is huyu ni ndugu yangu, huyu ni rafiki yangu. How do we recalibrate ourselves?
Because capital doesn't have to be cash. You can actually have consideration other than cash.
So the guy gives you 2 cows.
Yeah. Or someone is bringing in a skill. So you value that skill, and actually there's a form when you're recording the value of, when the allotment form, you can actually record consideration other than cash. So you value whatever that other consideration is, and then you reflect that as the value of the shares.
But okay, I understand it from an M&E perspective, but I may have a challenge and I'm speaking like an owner now. Ati sasa amekuwa wa biashara yetu. Si yetu ni ng'ombe alipeana. So why should I include him in the business, especially when you're looking at it from an M&E perspective in future?
No, that's where you need to come to us.
But give me a reason why I need to come to you. What's the benefit there? That eventually I'll clearly demonstrate what is the value of my business. Therefore, I can
because what happens
ask for something more.
And we've seen this happening at the point that you're probably looking to sell. All these individuals who claim to have a stake in the business now come up, and they will be demanding a stake. My cow was worth 70 X amount,
700.
700,000, and you're telling me it's 70,000, Bob. So then you have a problem. If you have no documentation,
really, like this happens. People come from nowhere.
That happens. Oh yes, but I mean they have put in money.
Yeah.
They have invested in one or another. It's just that you didn't document it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so they come up. And go
and
on.
they make a demand.
And so, like, how do you deal with it as lawyers? Like, what?
First you try and help them to negotiate. If that fails, then everybody has to prove the case. Okay, so you're saying you brought this cow that was worth 70 million to Oneshe. When the ingombe ulinunua wapi, running risk cow story. Do you have any receipts? At that point, that when you brought in the cow, what was the arrangement? Most likely, probably you'll see that cow was now deployed to go and produce milk, and there's probably a line of what this cow produced. So you're able to sort of working backwards. What's the word? Like you now regularize the shareholding. Yeah, you can. It's not the best, but it is possible to regularize and come up with now documents to back up what had already been done.
So that's us to conclude this session so that we have clarity. If it's the two brothers, 10 shares each, but it's only them, and they've been putting capital over the years, that will be reflected in the share premium. So
in the accounts.
The accounts.
Yes, but from the companies, it will remain the two.
And the same 10 shares because you've not issued
additional
shares. Yeah. Okay, then. So we are taking another break. This is Dr. Edwin Obonyo from SCBI.
And this is Raymond Mutura from CROF. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah. It's better that way.
And our guest.
And this is Sarah from Kaplan and Stratton.
Okay. Welcome back, listeners. This is the last section of today's episode. This is Dr. Edwin Obonyo from Strathmore Centre for Value Investing.
And this is Raymond Mutura from the Centre for Research and Organizations Work and Family. Aka CROF.
Yes.
And this is Sarah from Kaplan and Stratton.
Don't worry. A few weeks ago, he was a CEO of Mutura Enterprises.
So wow.
The name keeps changing every week.
SME.
Today I'm SME wa kuuza maji.
So I guess our final section would be on the other side, which is you have your own SME. What are and there are things that now are happening in newspapers and you read them and you're like, whoa, what do I need to do? And one of them is employment law. Very many cases we've seen, Stanchat, DHL, all this is public. If you read Business Daily, you'll see them. So should people hire? And if they're hiring, how should they do it? Should they fire? I mean, how should they navigate?
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, one of the areas that I told you I'm practicing is employment.
Yeah.
And if you look at the cases that are coming out of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, I mean, numerous disputes on employment. I think one of the things that we probably, again, going back to the issue of mindset, is this notion that you can fire as you want. Because if you look at most of the employment disputes, a lot of them, like 80% of them are unfair termination cases. The rest will probably leave for unions. So
80% is termination related.
Yes, so and most of the time
unlawful termination.
Unlawful termination.
So you fired them wrongly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because under Kenyan law, in as much as the law provides for termination notice, and I'm sure if you're employed, you have a contract that provides that either party can terminate by giving 1 month's notice. But the law also provides, and the Employment and Labor Relations codes have been very clear, that you must have a valid reason for terminating. So you must have a valid reason, and then there's a process. So you have to have the substantive reason, and then you have to comply with the process. So many times people have the reason, but they don't follow the process. So even though I have caught you red-handed stealing, I cannot fire you on the spot. And I think that is what people are not doing. Because you actually find a lot of people coming and like, why should I take this person through? Why should I waste my time taking someone through a disciplinary process, and I caught this person red-handed?
Yeah, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that the so-called gross misconduct?
Even for gross misconduct, summary dismissal, you still have to go through what is called the show cause process. So basically, you write to the employee, telling them why you're intending to terminate them, giving them the reasons. If you have conducted an investigation and you have all this evidence against them, WhatsApp messages that they were receiving money on the side, you have to table all that to them to give them an opportunity to defend themselves. Then you have to call them for a hearing.
Sorry, is that a process?
Yes.
It's stipulated in law.
Yeah, it's in the Act. Section 35 of the Employment Act.
So you cannot just decide, nilipata uliiba, that's it.
You have to go through that.
She said.
Yeah.
But wait, my SME has 4 employees. Which panel is this you are talking of?
Yeah, yourself. And you don't even have to be a panel. You can just be one person.
But you have to demonstrate.
You have to demonstrate.
Was a process.
Yes. You have to show that person was given it's a constitutional right, the right to fair hearing. So before you terminate me, you have to accord me a hearing. Tell me why you're firing me. Give me reasons as to why you're firing me and whatever evidence you're relying on. Give me an opportunity to defend and respond to those allegations before you then make a decision of whether or not you're firing me.
So this can be done within an hour and you go.
Not within. Okay, for summary dismissal, probably yes, but you have to sort of show that you've actually taken into account this matter. So generally we advise clients, have the show cause because today I write a show cause letter, I give it to you. I invite you for a show cause meeting, maybe tomorrow or the day after, so that I've given you enough time to also prepare your defense. You come, I hear your defense. Typically, we don't advise that you give the decision there and then. You have to demonstrate that you've actually considered the representations that someone has given. So give me the termination and communicate the decision a day or two thereafter.
So is there a change in the employment law?
Nope.
No, what I'm wondering
this is a law since the Act changed in 2007.
So what has happened is that, as you put it in off the cuff, is that we become
litigious.
Litigious.
Kenyans have become very aware of their rights, and I'm sure you've also seen a lot of reported cases, even by house helps.
Yeah, even by house helps.
Yeah.
Wait. Let's just go back a bit. So in that process you've given me, they are still coming to the office every day, or they have been told to stay out of it?
No, you can actually ask them to stay off.
They don't have to agree that they stay out.
No, but
you have to follow the process.
Yeah, you have to pay them.
Yeah. They're still legally with you. So
they're innocent until proven guilty.
They have stolen.
The other day we were having a chat with Dr. Jaramba on her, because she has this well-being PhD, and she was saying she interviewed somebody who says, no, this is my business. I fire you when I want.
Employment at will, no, that's an American concept. It does not apply in Kenya.
But why?
Because we have rights as Kenyans. We have constitutional rights, and one of our constitutional rights is right to fair labor practices and fair hearing.
So what has happened, this is an employment law of 2007, but now it is really alive.
Yeah, people have become increasingly aware, and the courts have also been very pro-employee, I should say.
Yeah. Pro-employee.
Yes.
So this is including part-timers.
Yeah.
So you because if
whether you're still an employee, the Employment Act defines the employee as someone who is, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but basically it would capture part-time employees
and short-term. So like if you're constructing, you just need them for maybe.
But the Act actually doesn't categorize, part-time employees. It just provides for employment.
Okay.
So you are the one who will probably create a part-time employment contract or a fixed-term employment contract, so that I give you a contract for 3 months or whatever. But even the danger with the fixed term, because a lot of especially NGOs even SMEs love the fixed term contracts because you're pegging it to the success of the business. I'm not sure whether I'll be here in 3 years.
Yeah.
So let me give you 1 year contract that I'll probably renew every other year. But the more you continue renewing the fixed term contracts, the more you create what the law refers to as legitimate expectation of renewal. Yeah. So if you renew my contract 3-4 times and then you attempt to tell me now, bye, I'm like, no, I had a legitimate expectation that you are going to renew my contract.
Because it has happened 3 more times.
Yes.
So, and how do you go around that?
Now, at that point, now it depends on, so either you go through the process, because people use a fixed term contract so that at the end of the contract, they don't have to go through the whole hassle of finding a reason and going through the process. I just tell you, as per our contract, your contract has come to an end. So if you've had that fixed term contract that you've renewed over the last 5 years and you want to terminate this person, really there is an underlying reason. One, either maybe your business is no longer doing well, so you're looking at a redundancy situation. Maybe you're not happy with how this person has been performing. So it's really a case of poor performance. I mean, for poor performance, the law requires that you have to have informed the employee that they are not performing well, put them on a performance improvement plan, give them an opportunity to improve their performance and support them as much as you can. And then thereafter, if their performance has still not improved, then you take them through the show cause hearing.
And that one of the findings for the cases was that you did not take your employee through PIP.
Yeah, the PIP process.
You can't just say. But a lot of things have been included, like for, I think, the standard.
Is PIP in Employment Act?
No, it's actually in a lot of our employment laws are really from the decisions of the employment and labor relations.
There's a lot of decision.
Yes.
And there's a lot of,
in fact, if you have to lead the employment,
or what do you call it in law? When you're referencing another precedents.
Yeah, a lot of the employment law in Kenya is really out of the court decisions. Because if you read the Employment Act in isolation, like if you have to just read the Employment Act, there's a lot that you'll miss out. So a lot of the laws have been developed as a result of the decisions of the court.
So one of the things we are telling SMEs, it's no longer, this
Hire
is my biashara, I'll fire and I don't care.
No. So first, you must have a contract. Most SMEs don't have employment contracts.
Okay, so if I don't have, what will happen?
If you don't have, then you have nothing to prove. So if I come and tell you that you had promised me that you're going to be paying me 10,000 shillings a month, but you've been paying me 7. If you have no contract, you have nothing to show that indeed we had agreed on 7.
But so whose onus is it to prove it? Isn't it
the person who alleges? Yeah. But the problem is, if you don't have a contract, then it makes, especially as the employer, it makes your work even more difficult because the court is already pro-employee. So there are certain, the court will start at a certain minimum level. For instance, I mean, we'll be expecting that this employee has had 21 days of leave. We expect that they have sick leave. So yes, you've not documented these things, but the law automatically expects that those are there. So there'll be a deemed employment contract that will probably not be in your favor, So even if I don't have a contract, there's an existing one under law. We'll adopt everything that is in the act.
So how will they? So as long as I demonstrate I've been coming to this company for every
XYZ.
So then eventually we can deem a contract.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. I mean, but this is the thing. I'm an SME founder, and a lot of these rulings I've been reading in newspaper are varied. So one will say. So like recently I read one that says an employer has no business in intervening between two people who are in love in the business or who work there. Because before, you could say that you don't want people who work together
to start going into romantic relationships.
But the judgment was you have no business. That's not your concern as the employer. Let them be. Another one said, I think it's the Stanchart one, which is the boss was fired, but it was the person underneath was inept, I think. And they were saying you cannot put all the blame on the boss and not the inept employee because he or she is the one who didn't do the job well. I guess my question is, how do I get to navigate all this as an SME founder? Where do I get to know?
It's true. I mean, even for us as lawyers, yeah, even for us as lawyers in the employment space, there's a lot of contradicting decisions. So I mean, you find courts at the same level that are having, two very different judgments. So it also makes work difficult for us in terms of trying to figure out which way to go. So you'll probably look at the judge. We know the judges who are more sober than others. Look at similar matters that have probably gone to the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court. So yes, maybe you'll see two ELRC, Employment and Labour Relations Court, two ELRC decisions on a matter. But we'll need to probably look at, has the Court of Appeal ruled on a similar issue? So in as much as they were conflicting at the ELRC level, then you'll go with the decision that has been made by the Court of Appeal. So for a layman, like it would be a difficult space to navigate, to be honest.
But I guess one practice is to just make sure you have a HR person.
Yeah, and actually there are a lot of outsourced HR services nowadays that can really hold your hand in that regard. Yeah, but again, I mean, law firms and I would say many law firms and individuals are writing a lot on this, especially like on LinkedIn. If you're able to follow key people, you can be able to find out where the law is headed. Yeah, what are the interesting decisions that have come up? But I think what is coming up is Kenyans have become very litigious. Jina ni ngumu. And secondly, I don't know that it's fortunately or unfortunately, the judges are a bit more pro-employee. Yeah. So then there needs to be, and the law exists, and there's a lot of precedences there that are not necessarily within the Employment Act, but they can always be quoted. Absolutely. So one has to be quite careful now. Yeah. I think the key issue is, yes, have a contract, but also have policies. Because the law sets the minimum. So a lot of it now goes into what you have in your policies. So like what you're talking about in terms of, you're not supposed to be romantically involved. All those things should be in your sexual harassment policy, conflict of interest policies, the whole manner of policies that you have. And those really help you, because if you have a policy if you have a policy in place, the courts will actually enforce what your policies provide for, to the extent that they're not contravening the law. And the law there's very little that is there. I mean, even in terms of what the disciplinary process looks like, you can add to it significantly in your disciplinary process. So HR policies very important. Wait,
so can you have policies that contravene the findings? No, that's
what I'm saying. As a minimum, yeah.
But also in the policies, I can come and say we were not informed. I don't know when it was updated. The last time I read it was 5 years ago. I was still new. I had just that's why
just make sure that when you're onboarding employees, give them a copy of the policy, have them sign, have it available on the intranet or on the notice board if you have nowhere else to put it. And then if you have trainings, make sure that you have an attendance register to show that people attended this training. So the idea is for you to be able to demonstrate that you've brought these policies to the attention of your employees. I mean, it's a lot of work for the employer.
I mean, that's so much administration work. Yes. And I'm wondering, if I have only 7 employees, how I as a founder,
not only just 7 employees, even if you decide to go informal, things are getting a bit
it's
difficult.
Not any better.
It's you can't say, I don't care, I'll be informal. No. Somebody will go and quote the Employment Act and you'll be in a bit of hot soup.
Yeah, that's why I think employment is becoming expensive. We looked at like the US and Europe, where the employment cost was very high. I think we're slowly headed in that direction. All these costs are added costs of doing business. So it will no longer be enough, because you have to factor in all this, the cost of hiring the HR and whatnot. You have to factor all that in the cost of doing business.
And then, of course, we've touched on the employment law. Of course, that's not the only thing the founder must think of. And then there's all these other facets.
Not just the founder, the business.
Yes. IP and all that. I guess for me also is on the other side, which is on the negative side, which is your business is facing a suit. Most, and especially if you're medium enterprises upwards. Some people will come and say, X did this, X, Y, I did not get my... So how should they handle that? What are the thinking they should have in place if they're on the other side of a suit, especially medium enterprises going upwards?
Yeah. Okay, first, I think you talked about the preventative. Let's prevent this as much as possible through proper documentation, because I think a lot of companies falter. If you have the proper documents, someone will not even bring some of these frivolous suits because they know the documents do not support their position.
Yeah.
So to the extent possible, document. I mean, we've seen I think Kenyans are averse to confrontation. So you're not happy with an employee's performance. You've just had conversations, but there's nothing in writing. The day you want to fire them, you have nothing to fall back on. So as much as possible, try the preventative route through contract management. But if you find yourself in that situation, there is space for negotiation. Because, I mean, lawsuits do take they can take a long time in court, and they can also be pricey. So many times, if you find a good lawyer, we can give you chances. What are your chances of success in this matter? And then agree on a settlement, even out of court. In many employment matters, actually, we just tell an employer, I mean, if you really didn't follow the process, let's try and cut your losses early. Let's negotiate this thing out of court and settle the matter before it goes to court. It will even save you the reputational damage of having your business published all over. So if then it has to go to that point, then have a lawyer who is capable of handling the matter.
And that we also have ADR.
Yes.
ADR, I guess, is part and parcel of
yes. So mediation, arbitration. Although we've seen a significant challenge in arbitration, it used to be actually the preferred route of dispute settlement for commercial contracts. Yeah. But unfortunately, there are many corrupt arbitrators. Okay. And the problem is when you have arbitration, and you've decided the arbitration clause provides that the decision of the arbitrator shall be final and binding, then you have no recourse for appeal. Yeah, so if it's a matter, so that's why I think now we are actually advising clients just go to court, because if you're dissatisfied with the decision at the initial stage, you can always appeal up to the Supreme Court. So there is much more room for appeal than in arbitration.
There's no something similar in the arbitration process that I can also appeal to another arbitrator, so it's final.
Yes, final and binding.
So wow.
But what at least they should know is that you two parties pick the arbitrator. It's not picked for you, right?
Yeah, okay, you can decide. So typically the provisions provide that you agree on arbitrator, but if you do not agree on an arbitrator, then the chairman of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators will appoint an arbitrator. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
And this is just on this is to talk to all kinds of suits, just not the employee. Yeah. So even if someone is saying
commercial disputes, contracts, all manner of disputes, most commercial contracts prefer arbitration, and in fact, probably there's now a move towards arbitration that is probably not in Kenya, governed by other bodies.
Wait, this is the same arbitration you are saying is a problem now?
Yeah, now there's now the arbitration regime. Like in Kenya, there's the Arbitration Act in Kenya. Yeah. The other arbitration regimes, LCA, what is the full name? Is it London? The other forums, arbitration forums that are out of Kenya. So probably those are more reliable, but they are more pricey.
Okay.
So for most commercial, especially like construction contracts, etc., you appoint a different arbitration regime.
Wait, so just to clarify, so if you don't want to go the higher ones, the LCA, and you don't want to do this arbitration of Kenya, the next one is what? Mediation? What? Like
mediation is not binding. Mediation is like the most basic form of alternative dispute resolution.
Okay.
So the mediator actually just brings you together, helps you to come up with a mutual settlement that now you agree, and now that's recorded in now a settlement agreement, which now becomes binding. But for an arbitrator, the arbitrator will listen to your side of the story and his side, and then come up with a decision. Yeah, so the mediation is like the lowest level.
Okay.
We had a matter in Kigali International Arbitration Centre. But it was a matter that was in Kigali in my previous job. So I guess that's one potential other arbitration center you can go to.
More reliable centers,
and bring it back. So as we conclude, maybe you can give us your final thoughts as commercial lawyer of 17 years. What small and
in reference to the SMEs.
Yes,
what they should.
Yeah, I think the main thing, please document. That's where contracts come in, employment contracts, supplier contracts. I think people are not very keen, SMEs are not very keen on documentation. And I think that's what Raymond was saying at the beginning. I mean, you're quick to invent, you expect that everything else will follow. Yeah. But as much as possible, try and document your processes. Then 2, ignorance is no ignorance of the law is no defense. So try at least understand the business you're getting into, and understand at least the bare minimum regulatory requirements, starting from your setup. What are the licenses that are applicable in the sector that you're in? What are the employment rights if you have employees? So have at least some bare minimum understanding of the legal environment that you're operating in.
And the famous one on risk mitigation. You try to
separate yourself from your business.
From the person of the business.
Absolutely.
Get us here 12.
Okay,
wow.
Very well.
Okay, then. Thank you so much, Sarah,
You're welcome.
for joining us today in this episode of SME Unleashed. This is Dr. Edwin Obonyo from SCVI.
This is Raymond Mutura from Croft.
And this is Sarah from Kaplan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Till another episode.
Yeah. Asante sana.
All right. Bye-bye.